Hi, this is Glenn Crothers from the Louisville Jazz Society, and today it's my pleasure to talk to Drew Miller, who will be bringing the Hot Sauce Brass Band to the Café on Saturday, February 23rd at 7 p.m. as part of the Louisville Jazz Society Signature Series. Hi, Drew. It's great to talk to you. I've been
Yeah,
watching you play in various groups over the past decade or more here in Louisville. You're from Louisville, right? And received your musical training and here, did you?
I did.
Can you tell
Yep.
us a little bit about how you got to be a sax player?
Well, early on it was records from my mom, Steely Dan and Sade, and I was kind of an introverted kid, and when it was in elementary school, it was just something to do, something to be part of, and that kind of just sparked my love for music, and I got into lessons and ended up going to youth performing arts school and decided I wanted to pursue a career in music.
Right, right. That a lot of people came, a lot of players came through the Y-Pass.
Yeah, yeah, lucky to have good band programs in Louisville, not just with YPass, but other schools around. In that time, that was in '90s, late '90s and stuff. I don't know how it's going now, but back then there's lots of activity.
Right, right. And then you went to the U of L jazz program, correct?
Yeah, 2000 to 2005, I got my bachelor's. It was yeah, bachelor's in music. An emphasis in jazz studies. They didn't have a jazz degree back then, but yeah, the James Aebersold Jazz Program, and I went to school. Delphio Marsalis came and got his master's while I was there, and studied with him, and studied with a lot of the master's students and teaching assistants as well as John LaBarbera and Mike Tracy and all those great professors there at the university.
Great, great. So, I mean, I've heard you play, as I said, in a bunch of different configurations. I really love the karaoke club. So, what brought you to, born and raised in Louisville, what brought you to New Orleans style of music, second line band?
Well, New Orleans music, especially the contemporary brass band stuff, it just has a really great energy. And that's what really drew me to it. It's a little less harmonically less complex than like jazz standards and stuff like that, but it's just really the feeling of the music, and it's just fun to play.
Did playing with Delfio have any influence on it?
A little bit. I mean, not a ton. He's a character, and obviously he had a lot of great lessons to teach, coming from his background and his dynasty. His family musical dynasty and the New Orleans tradition. But yeah, I kind of got into the New Orleans stuff a little bit later.
Right. Right. He's got a new record out called Crescent City Music, I think, which is sort of a celebration of different
Mhm.
styles of New Orleans music. So I just wondered if there's any connection there. Um, so what's the origin of the band? How did the band come together?
Well, my friend Joe Tiemann, trumpet player, he lived in town for a while. He's since moved to Boston, but we were asked to put together a band to march in a parade with Jimmy Can't Dance and kind of represent them. I think this was like 2018.
The Jimmy Can't Dance being the jazz club that used to be downtown. Yeah.
Yeah, they were kind of doing being a part of the St. Patty's Day parade actually. And Denny and Brian Goodwin asked us to put together something, and it was so much fun. After the gig, we were like, "Hey, you want to keep it going? Let's, start writing some music and get a band together, a working band." And it's kind of been on and off because those early days I was still doing a lot of road work and touring a bunch, and so it was kind of sporadic those first, 2000 late 2018, 2019. And of course, then the pandemic. But
Right. So the band's been around for at least you've been playing this style of music for about seven or
mhm.
7+ years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a while. So who's in the band these days? Can you tell me a little bit about the members of the band we're going to see on Sunday, the 23rd?
Longtime collaborator Zach Kennedy is the drummer. We've been playing music together since maybe 2010. I met him like he came into the U of L program from Cincinnati, and you just met him on the scene out at mostly the neighborhood big band in places like Knock Bar, going to see Jacob Duncan and stuff. And so he's on drums, and we've got a great sousaphone player, Brandon Johnson. Um, and
So,
then,
so where do you find someone who can keep up that energy for an hour and a half?
well, yeah, we've just been doing it. They're just strong players, and we can do it. Like hot lips. It's tough on the brass players to play
Right,
9 minutes. I'm used to. I got a standing gig Thursdays and Fridays, and like the first set, just to kind of break up the night, is 90 minutes. And my first gig out of college was with Ed Jerry Green's, and it was a 6 hour gig. It was 9 to 3. And sometimes he'd hold us over. It'd be like 3:30, and we'd be checking our watch. The musical director, he would never say anything. He was scared to get fired. But that first set would be 3 hours.
right.
But yeah, so we got
Just
Brandon on.
always, I'm just always impressed with marching bands and the tuba player, the sousaphone, who can just keep up that because that's driving the band.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
tough on him. So and then we got Craig Twiddell on trumpet,
great.
and Ivo Ferreira on trombone, and Ethan Evans on trombone.
Well, some of these players we've seen before on the
Mhm.
Jazz Society shows, so we're looking forward to see them all come together as a group. Um, so what can the audience expect to hear on Sunday, February 23rd? Is this originals, classic sort of marching bands from New Orleans, or reconfigured pop songs? What kind of mix are we going to hear?
Uh, our rep, we do a little bit of traditional New Orleans music, but we really lean into contemporary New Orleans music from the brass bands like Hot Eight and Rebirth. And but what we really like to do is play our originals. So it'll be a mix of all three of those things, but really kind of lean in towards the originals and the contemporary repertoire.
So how do the originals come together? Is somebody a main songwriter in the band, or is this a collaborative thing?
Yeah, mostly we bring in ideas and kind of work the arrangements out. I'll write some tunes, and then Craig Twaddell has been a real asset in that department. He's written a lot of great tunes for the band. And it's been a great outlet for both of us just to write and create.
Yeah, yeah. So this usually isn't a dancing crowd, but can I've seen you guys play before. I'm expecting the audience to be pretty responsive.
I hope so. You never know what to expect in a seated venue, but hopefully we will move them with our music and move them to get up out of the seat and dance around. I know the cafe would welcome that a little bit. Might have to do a little dance with the servers as they're coming around serving food and drinks and stuff, but there's plenty of room in there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're certainly looking forward to it, and it's great that we can do a little bit of New Orleans style stuff here in Louisville as Mardi Gras approaches.
Yeah, get into the festival spirit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're really, as I said, really looking forward to the show. Celebration of Mardi Gras here in Louisville. And at the end of the month. Remember, the Hot Sauce Brass Band will be at the Café on Sunday, February 23rd at 7 p.m. as part of the signature series of the Louisville Jazz Society. Just to anybody who's listening, we've been selling these shows out on a regular basis. So get on the website and get your tickets ahead of time if you want to have some good New Orleans spirit on at the end of the month. Thanks a lot for talking to me, Drew. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, my pleasure.